Welcome into Voice of the Voice. This is a very special episode. It's me and with the returning one, the only Maddie Andrews is here with us, guys. Maddie and
Hello.
I, Maddie and I decided we just had a dud of a guest. We'll be honest with you guys, full circle. We had a couple duds, so we figure we're gonna give you something a little special for all you guys that have not heard Maddie's story. Maddie's gonna share it for y'all right now, and we're gonna talk about some of the things she's up to these days. So, Maddie, why don't you lay down? Let them know the goods.
Okay, well, Pete knows a lot of my story. I was on Pete versus Anxiety. I've been on a lot of podcasts, so you may have heard it before, but I live with what's called schizoaffective bipolar type, which means I have symptoms of both schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, along with complex PTSD, OCD, and a pretty bad case of generalized anxiety. And it all really started at 4 years old. I was sexually assaulted and I told my teacher because it happened at school, and she was like, "You're a bad kid. This is your fault." And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "And if you tell your parents, you're going to be in a lot of trouble." So I
So, so Maddie,
started.
let's talk about that really fast, okay? You know that's the fucked up part about it, though, is that we tell these kids to tell someone when something happens, you do exactly what you're told to, and then that's the answer you get. Well, you're a bad kid. This
Yeah.
is your fault. That's so fucked up that people tell you that.
Well, it started this pattern that I still am trying to break today of like, okay, well, I'm going to bury it and put it in a box and hold on to it. And it started my PTSD journey. And I had a lot of more shuck fucking trauma after that. And because of those early years, I just boxed it all up and boxed it all up and boxed it all up. And now I'm in EMDR therapy and I'm learning to unbox and untrigger and untraumatize. I'm on like a holistic health journey. I'm trying all these new great therapies I can share.
Yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
trying to heal myself. Well, my schizoaffective is like pretty much managed with medication. I've done dialectical behavioral therapy. I've gone cognitive behavior therapy most of my life. Um, so my meds are good, but the PTSD and the anxiety were definitely not good. Every time I made a mistake, I would have this like deep fucked up spiral and like I had the habit of like having suicidal ideations or self-harming and like these deep rooted issues. But when I started EMDR therapy, she was like getting me on this holistic kick. And like, for example, I got a nutritionist. I just went and saw my nutritionist today. I've lost 16 pounds in 3 weeks. I lost 3 inches on my thighs, 3 inches on my hips, 2 inches on my waist. And I don't do it for that though. It's all natural, no GLP-1. I do it because my mental health. Like, I've gotta figure out a way to wrangle in this mental health. I also tried a new therapy. Pete, you gotta try this shit. It's called
Yeah, yeah.
floating.
I was gonna ask you about the floating therapy thing. Yeah, let's get
Yes,
into
you've
this.
gotta
What
try
is what
floating.
exactly is that? Because I've never heard of that. When Maddie texted me, I was like, dude, what the hell is that?
It's so cool. So it's to regulate your nervous system. It can help with like anxiety and depression. So you're either in a pod or a chamber. So I went to this spa. They opened up this room. It's got like a heat lamp and like a shower and like it's a spa. And then they open this little door in the wall, and it's a room, a dark room. It's got stars on the sky, and
Hmm.
it's like a hot tub, but not, except it's full of salt, like so much salt. And they play meditation music. You can cut the music on or off. You can cut the lights on or off. You can leave the door open and close. You can turn the stars on or off. And you get naked and you get in this tub and you literally float. Like you can't, there's so much salt, you can't put your body down because there's so much salt. And while you're just floating for an hour, your brain is processing all this stuff. And then you hop out and shower. And before I floated, I was super triggered and having all this anxiety. But when I got out, I was like, I have no thought in my brain. I have nothing. And I went home that night and my husband was like talking to me about whatever. And it was like I was in my own world. I was so relaxed. I mean, I've taken benzos, I've taken gabapentin, I've taken a lot of anxiety medications in my life, but nothing was like this floating therapy. And I'm gonna start going once a month. I'm so excited. It was so regulating to my nervous
The way you
system.
say that, you're like, this floating therapy. I'm like,
It is so good,
dude,
Pete.
I
You
was
gotta
like,
try it.
when you told me about this, I was like, what the hell is that? Well, I'm gonna try it though. I'm kind of curious. I'm up for whatever,
Yes,
honestly.
it is
How did
so
you find it
good.
though? How did you discover this though?
Well, I also started getting massages. So my EMDR therapist and my massage therapist, she works on my vagus nerve, which helps with my anxiety.
Mhm.
Um, they both said, "You gotta try floating," and then I went to an energy healer and a tarot reader, and she was like, "You've gotta try floating," and I was like, "Okay, what the fuck?" So I looked up where floating was near me, and I made an appointment, and I was so skeptical. I was like, "How does laying
Yeah.
in a
Yeah,
salt
yeah.
bath, like, help you?" But I'm telling you firsthand, it changed my life. I will be floating. I just scheduled my next floating session today. It was so cool.
Okay, so floating therapy, also called flotation or deprivation therapy, is a session where you lie in a quiet tank pod filled with warm water and a large amount of Epsom salt so you can float there effortlessly. People use it to relax, reduce stress, ease muscle pain, sometimes improve mood or sleep. Some sources note benefits for anxiety, which Maddie is telling us is working for her right now. Da.
Yes.
But yeah, I've never heard of that, and I didn't even look it up, honestly. But it says floating therapy is generally considered low risk, but it may not sound a good fit if you have open wounds, claustrophobia, obviously, I get that, certain infection,
Yeah.
epilepsy, low blood pressure, kidney disease. Common prep advice: shower first, avoid caffeine, and not shaving right before the session to reduce irritation.
Yeah, the salt water, like, they give you Vaseline if you have, like, a cut or something to put over your cut, because the salt will really hurt an open wound.
Oh, I believe it.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I was
and
like I
drink
said,
plenty of
it was really
water.
interesting though. It was really interesting though to hear when you told me about it, because you're like, oh yeah, man, it's so great. Da 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 da. And we all know whenever we run into you, you're always wired because you got so much shit going on and
Yeah, I
things like
do.
that too.
I do, and it's and then the energy healing, like, I tried, like, I don't wanna butcher the name, it's like a precursor to Reiki, and then I tried
Hmm.
Reiki. And I was so skeptical. I was like, "What does energy have to do with anything? Like, I don't get it." But we are energy beings, and it was so healing to me, and I am, like, so diving into this, like, what is my spirit, mind, body, and soul doing?
Hmm.
Like and they were talking about, like, my chakras, and, like, the energy healer was like, "Your chakra for, like, fight, flight, or freeze is so clogged." And I was like, "Yes, I know, I'm always panicking." So I'm going for a deep energy healing
I mean,
and
but
then
think about it though. Like when we first met, the story you told me was like, holy fuck, dude. 18
yeah, my
plus
story's crazy.
medications and how you're sharing it on the internet and people are reacting like in the most heinous fucking way possible, which is not really shocking now, being on the internet and putting stuff out there and reading a lot of these things, a lot of these posts you see. Me and Mel Goldman actually were talking about BPD and how a lot of people always post these like fucking horrible things about it. But I'm like, dude, like here's a challenge for you. Did you take time to understand what these people go through? No, you probably fucking didn't. We all have phones, but you don't do anything with them. You know what I mean? It's like everybody was saying all these heinous things to you. But look at where you're at now,
Yeah,
dude. Fuck them all at this point because you're going to UNC. You're making strides in everything you're doing. You have Janie's support group going on. You have all these things going. So like fuck them at this point, man. But it was so interesting though when we first met because I was like, holy fuck, dude, this chick's been through the fucking ringer. God damn. And then when we
yeah,
were
my story
talking to
is
Whitney
fucked up.
too, that got interesting as well.
The things I could share if I wasn't afraid of the backlash and my husband divorcing me would blow your socks
Oh
off.
no, we gotta get
Like,
Russell on board. We gotta get him on board just one time. The
no,
the
like,
Maddie Andrews tell
because
all between you and fucking Natalie, the two of you guys, I swear to God.
well, because of my bipolar, I had a lot of like strings of like intense, really bad, unmedicated mania in my
Mhm,
late teens and early 20s. And if you don't know what mania is, it's the high highs of bipolar and people that part of your brain and your frontal cortex that says this is the bad idea does not exist. There's
mhm,
stories of people cheating on their spouse of 30 years, taking their retirement and blowing it, taking their life savings and buying a boat when they don't live near water, hypersexuality, like really reckless. And the problem is, it's a euphoric feeling. People like it. It's like you're naturally high, but it's very dangerous to be manic.
yeah,
And so in my late teens and early 20s, not only was I in that state and being reckless, I was also on drugs. So the combination of the lack of inhibition naturally with the lack of inhibition when I was doing drugs was just something that was unmatched. And I'm talking like selling drugs, like sexuality was something like not just being like promiscuous, but like illegal sexuality, like by selling drug. I mean, how I am not dead or in jail is something that I will never understand, but I think it's because it's for a greater good. When I meet people who I work with, um, say they were sick with their mental health and made reckless decisions, I can relate to that and I can show them a little bit of hope. Like, I'm in grad school, I just won a full ride. I have a 4.0. I started my own nonprofit and it's successful. I also work a full-time job. And you can do all these things with a pass. And we don't have to carry this guilt and this shame about the things we did while we were sick or the bad choices we made when we were young. Like, guilt is a feeling, but shame is when you put that feeling on yourself. Guilt is saying, I did something wrong. Shame is saying, I am the something wrong. And that
Yeah,
was me. I,
but you got to remember though, when you're telling people this, a lot of people don't react the same way though. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm different than everybody else. Like some people be like, "Holy shit, she's an ex drug addict." You know what I mean? The minute you say drug addict and or
yeah,
you're clean now, they give you shit about that regardless. And that, like, you know, when we've talked about that, I've gotten into that conversation with a few people. I'm like, dude, why are you treating people differently? Like, just because they were somebody else before, you have to understand they're in an altered state of mind. Like, where they're doing those drugs, they're not the
yeah.
same person you're physically seeing now. And everybody's too quick to
The,
judge them and give them shit about it, and
it's
things like
true.
that too.
The stigma.
Yeah.
Like, I had a problem with pills. And
Hmm.
will never forget the night it almost turned to heroin. So I was beeping and bopping and going around town to whoever's house and doing whatever I could get my hands on. And my friend said, "Well, let's go see this guy." And I was like, "Whatever. I don't know who he is and he's an hour away, but I don't care." And he had cocaine and heroin in his house. I had never been exposed to cocaine or heroin at that point. And my friend said, "Well, I'm going to go over here in this room with him. You just chill out." And I was like, "Okay, whatever." I was hiding care. Um, and he came out and she was in there and he said, "You want to try this?" I said, "What is it?" He said, "Heroin." And I said, "Fuck it. Sure." But as soon as I said that, my friend bust out the room and she was speedballing. She was doing cocaine and heroin at the same time and thought she was having a
Jesus.
heart attack. And it saved my life because if she had not almost had a heart attack and me have to drive her home petrified to her family, um, yeah, I would be dead as a heroin addict right now. And the strange places I went and the strange people I put myself around was just, and the fucked up part of all of this is like I was a straight A college student at the time. I led a
Yeah.
double life for a really long time. Like, I would go to school and like participate in school and be this like, I don't know, good kid. And when I came home to this other group of friends, I was wilding out and I was on the
Hmm.
street trying to do heroin and sleeping with guys for money and like all this crazy shit. And it wasn't because I wanted to lead a double life. It was because I was sick. My bipolar, my schizoaffective was not diagnosed yet. And I was not medicated yet. And I was not in therapy yet. And when I was 19, I went to the hospital for the first time and my mom was like telling them all these things she thought I was doing. Most of them were correct, but I denied them. And I was in the ER, I was suicidal, and my mom was telling them that I was manic. I didn't know what that word meant. And I remember because my mom had a hunch that I was being promiscuous, they pulled out this like giant ass needle and like shot me up with like every
Mm.
antibiotic in the hospital. And they were like, "You're going upstairs." And that was the first time I was hospitalized. And I remember sitting in this little room and they were like giving me these assessments, like these 500 question bubble in assessments. And what they were trying to figure out was, do I have schizophrenia or do I have bipolar disorder? Because you can have
Yeah.
psychosis with bipolar disorder. Um, but they diagnosed me as bipolar. And about 10 years later, I found out my doctor had changed without telling me my diagnosis to schizoaffective because I was having psychosis and schizophrenia symptoms without the mania, without the depression, all by themselves. And my 20s were just fucked up. When you have serious mental illness, your 20s are going to be fucked up
Mhm.
because you're trying to figure yourself out. You go however old you were when you got diagnosed or started having an episode. Mine was middle school, but it didn't really come out to the light until I was in college. And you think you're this person. You think you're one way, your family thinks you're one way, you have all these hopes and dreams. And then suddenly the doctor goes, bam, here's a label. Your whole life flips upside down. And you're trying to manage these symptoms. You're trying to find a regimen of medications and therapies. And it's scary. Your
Mhm.
hopes tend to go out the window and you don't know what is possible for you. That was me. I had to drop out of college. I had to I didn't know what to do. My parents were supportive, thank God. Without them, I didn't know if I'd ever become healthy, but it took about I started medication for my OCD at 14. I started medication for my bipolar and schizophrenia at 19, and I did not find the right cocktail of medication until I was 35 years old. And along the way, I was over medicated and almost died from it. Um, I ended up with my heart was damaged, my lungs collapsed, a brain injury, 3 weeks in the ICU, 2 rounds of dialysis, all because of this over medication that is happening in our system. You go see a psychiatrist, and some of them are great and they're like minimal medication, slow increases. And then you have the doctors like I had who are you come in with a symptom and they're like, "We're gonna max you out on everything." And then
Mhm.
you come in the next month and they're like, "I'm having these side effects or this isn't fixed. Well, let's just add 3 more." The over medication, and that is so fucking dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the side effects alone and everything else, and I know
Yes.
we talked about your lithium poisoning and all that kind of shit too. Yeah, man, it's fucking crazy. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying psychedelics or the medications aren't supposed to work the way they do. They do for some people, like you said, it's manageable with yours, but it's not for everybody. Like, well, especially now these days with everything else they've got, all the new things that we're learning every day, new things are popping up. Like, and it's fucking crazy, man. It really is. And then the costs. I remember me, you, and Natalie were talking about the cost of it. It's fucking crazy. You can't even afford them these days.
Yes. If I
Like,
didn't I work to have health insurance. That's why I work, because I cannot afford my medical care without health insurance. One of my medications, one, I take several. One without health insurance, I want to say is $3,000 to $4,000 a month for a 30-day supply. Who the hell
Jesus.
has $3,000 to $4,000? And that's not my only med, but
That's what I'm
that's the
saying, though.
only
It's
med.
fucking crazy. But the thing is, like, you need it. Like, if it's an essential, I see where it should be covered by some kind of form of something. Like, I'm diabetic. All my
That's
stuff should be covered. I shouldn't have to have insurance because
Yep,
what I have is something that is very, very dangerous to have. You got to be careful. I feel like those kind of things, it should be those kind of things need to be covered regardless. Should be some universal thing that covers it than anything else that you want extra because
universal
people are
health
taking.
care.
Yeah, basically, yeah, it'd be nice like Canada has. Like my
Yeah,
girlfriend was telling me about that. She was like, yeah, we have, like, here in Canada, you can walk anywhere and walk into any place with your card and you can just get care. And I was like, yeah, that doesn't work like that here. You're basically
no,
fucked. Because we were talking about another friend's situation and she was like, you guys don't have these kind of things. I'm like, no, we don't. Unfortunately, that's the crazy
no.
fucking part of it all. Supposed to be
Well,
the
give this
greatest country
shit
to live in, and we can't even
I
get
just
fucking medical.
I was having heart palpitations. My resting pulse before I started all this holistic and de-stressing was like 166. When I slept, it was like 40. My heart was going crazy, and I never saw a cardiologist after my lithium toxicity. So my primary was like, you need to go get a workup. So I had an ultrasound on my heart. I wore a heart
Hmm.
monitor for 2 weeks. Of course, he said he thinks it's just stress, which is hence the holistic de-stress journey, like floating. So I don't have to go on heart medication. Um, but my insurance was supposed to cover it. They made me pay my deductible, and I had almost $4,000 left on my deductible. So as soon as I got my heart results, and about a month later, I got a $4,000 bill for those heart results. And there was no warning that my insurance wasn't going to cover it. It was ordered by a doctor. It was necessary. I was having heart problems. I had this damage. I could have had permanent damage to my heart from the lithium toxicity that was never found. So it's just some bullshit that now I'm having to pay off a $4,000 hospital bill to make sure I'm not dying.
Man, it's just crazy though. To me, it's fucking ridiculous. It's like, why? Why? It's just like it doesn't make any sense. The level of greed that we deal with here,
Yes.
and then everything in the costs are rising, everything else rising up, and things like that too. And it's like, well, you have to have insurance. Insurance for what? You don't cover any goddamn thing. So what's the point of having it half the time? You don't cover 90% of the things you're supposed to cover. So what's the fucking point of having it? I'm paying you for nothing at this point. And it just makes no sense. The system's so fucking flawed. It's just like it's crazy. It's like, well,
The
people
system
we
is
know mental
flawed.
health is an issue. We all know that. Fuck, look at the numbers. Numbers don't
Well,
lie statistically. It's crazy.
that's one reason I'm going to grad school. I'm getting my master's in social work, and so a lot of people do when they hear the word social worker, they think like either therapist or someone at DSS or Child Protective Services, but that's not what I'm doing at all. I'm going to be an advocate, and one of the things what I'm going to advocate for is mental health, and one way I'm going to advocate for it is politics. We need to have equitable policies in place to protect mental health. Like I know that in North Carolina because of, I think her name was Irene and Charlotte, who got stabbed by the man with schizophrenia. They're
Mhm.
trying to change what we call in North Carolina IVC, involuntary commitment. We don't have forced community care in North Carolina. You can't court order someone to go see a therapist. The only thing you can do, um, is put them in a hospital and take away their civil rights. And I see people for a living at my job. And the way it works is anybody can walk into the magistrate and say, they threatened to kill themselves, they're a danger to themselves, or they're trying to kill me, they're a danger to me. And if the magistrate believes you and you testify, the police will get you. You have no rights. You're taken to a hospital for a first evaluation. If they say it's true, you're taken to another place and you're locked away, and they can hold you up to 10 days without you can't leave. You have no rights. And if they say you should stay after that, there's a court. And the court will either deem you stay or you go. And a lot of the times in North Carolina, when it winds up in court, the people are released. People are IVC. I'm not saying IVC is wrong in all cases. There was definitely points in my life where I should have been IVC'd. I'm not
Mhm.
saying it's totally a bad thing. But one thing I want to advocate for is like, let's change it to forced community care because the people who are getting IVC get released, have no aftercare, and it's a revolving door of the hospitals. And then our emergency departments are flooded with the same people who are not receiving community care. And
Yeah.
if you look at the policies, I'm going to get a little nerdy here. The Supreme Court ruled in 1999, the Olmsted case, it was just the anniversary, that forced institutional care is illegal when they can be served in the community. Thanks to the Supreme Court case in 1999, community care was the way to go because before that, people were living their lives in institutions and had no say in it, and they didn't have to be there. Not until 1999, and not everybody was released. And if you look at like the 50s, everybody was going to an institution, and those places were horrible. The
Yeah.
way mental health has been treated historically is just terrible.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a major problem though for a lot of people. Think of the
It
school
is.
shootings and all these other things that happen.
Yes.
Like they all say mental health's the issue, but then it gets swept under the rug. The NFL is one I'd like to highlight a lot because we've lost the two young players that they both killed themselves, both shot themselves. In fact, so both of them have shot them, and yet no one says shit. That's the scary part. Junior Seau went crazy and fucking went nuts, and then but that got light though. That was funny. That's why the institute knew helmets because Junior Seau and all the concussions. Steve Young had to retire due to concussions, and then there's the guy with the Miami Dolphins that gets him a lot too, but it's like circling back to the Dallas Cowboys guy that killed himself on the highway over here, and it's like no one talks about it. It's like, okay, well, it happened. All right, so then what are we doing to change these problems? Nothing.
No
Nothing.
shit.
I was tagging the. I'm going to start tagging the NFL though. I'm planning on starting to tag the NFL every day until I can get somebody, and I'm going to see what they say. Like, see if I could reach out and talk to somebody and ask them, like, what are you guys doing to prevent the next thing happening for these guys? Like, I get they're athletes, this and that, but do you have access to all these things? Like, why not make sure these guys are mentally sound? If this is what's happening in these young guys, these aren't older players; these are young dudes, both in their 20s. Well, the other guy was really struggling. It's like, did no one notice this? You know, like his girlfriend cites, oh, he was struggling. Okay, so if he was struggling, did anybody else notice anything? Like I just got questions. I just want to know. Like, did anybody notice him struggling? You know, just get some answers. And like, what's your plan going forward? Like, you guys have all these great systems in place for alcohol and all these drug things and all these other policies. But what about these guys' state of fucking minds? Especially these young guys, because it's two young dudes. It ain't like these are some veteran players. These are two young dudes that have killed themselves. You know, the both one guy did it at his home, the other guy did it on the side of a fucking highway. And it's like, then you say nothing about it. Like, nothing
Head
is said
trauma.
about it at all. You know what I'm saying? It's like nothing is said. With this kid's 24. The helmets are redesigned to do that. If you look at their helmets, that part you see the indicator is supposed to reduce it, because the junior seau thing brought that to light, that was one of the things they were worried about, head trauma. So they redesigned the helmets to be better, take impact better. That's why they can't do certain things anymore. There's a lot of rules. If you look at what it was in the 90s versus now, they've changed a lot of rules that you can't just lay out somebody like that for no reason. Like, there were dudes hitting people like full steam, just running these guys over and just taking them out. There was the New Orleans Saints thing. They were accused of doing a hit list type thing where they were targeting players for money. Hey, if you take out this person, you get a bonus or whatever. You know, you get payment for this. You know, but my thing is, like, these guys that are killing themselves, and then we say nothing about it. Like, it's
Well,
their
another,
mental health is in bad shape. It's crazy.
if you look at it, the 20s, where a lot of these guys are, is the
Hmm.
prime time for mental illness to emerge. That's when a lot of it comes out. They're under an extreme amount of stress. They're getting a lot of
Exactly.
hate. And it's all public. Everything is suddenly all
But
public than their whole
my question
life.
to that is, though, is why, if we know this is what they're dealing with, why have we not implemented this after losing two of these guys? That should have been even after the Dallas Cowboy player, honestly. I may not like the Dallas Cowboys, but the fact this young man was struggling that bad, I think we should have done something. We should have started doing psych evaluations on some of these guys just to make sure everybody's okay. Like, hey, listen, is there something you're not talking about? Obviously, we don't have to tell people what the results are, because that's their own personal things. You know what I mean? But I think that these guys, somebody needs to start advocating for these guys, or the players union needs to start doing something, because, like, these guys are in their young age, and just like you stated, in the 20s is when a lot of them develop these things. Why not start checking these guys to see if everything's okay, if there's not something we can prevent these guys from doing something like that? They had a whole life to live. They could have done other things, you know, gone on and played for a couple of years. They're living the dream. They're playing in the NFL. Most guys that play in college, that's what they want to do. But it's like, yeah, Maddie just stated, you know, it's crazy, because it's like, we know these statistics, but then we don't do it. We don't go back and check over them. Like, they have all these great practices, concussion protocol, all that great stuff. So why are we not checking in on these guys mentally to see how they're doing, especially after we just lost two of them? It's like, what more has to happen? And to me, it's just insane. To me, it's just fucking crazy that
It's
we don't say
crazy.
anything about that poor kid took his life, and then we don't say shit about it. It's like,
Well, mental health is this thing where, like, if it's not directly affecting you, like yourself, your loved one, people just sweep that shit right under the rug. Like, I had a political meeting with a politician one time, and I was advocating for mental health and telling
mm-hmm,
her some of the advocacy events I was doing to reduce stigma. And she told me, she said, mental health is not stigmatized, behaviors are. Well, are you saying everybody with every diagnosis has the same behavior and that's why they're stigmatized? Because I had schizophrenia, and I bet if I asked her what people with schizophrenia were like, she would have said, dangerous. I've never hurt anybody. I hate conflict. I hate thinking I hurt people's feelings. That is not me at all. And when I think I've hurt someone just emotionally, I break down and crumble for days. I cannot stand it. Yet, when people hear the word schizophrenia, they're like, oh, she's really going to hurt me. We need to stay away from that girl.
mm-hmm. Or the assumption that all of you guys hallucinate and all these other things.
Yeah, like I don't
Just
hallucinate
like
right
OCD.
now.
Remember we had Keith on about the OCD. Or we had the guy. Well, we had another guy about OCD. Kevin, that was it. Kevin had the podcast about OCD. Had people were.
Yeah.
Oh no, the guy had what was it? Never mind. What the damn it? No,
Tourette's.
it was there. You go. The Tourette's guy. remember how you were saying that too? Like it's
Everybody's
crazy.
unique.
It's fucking crazy. To me, it's just crazy
Like,
that's what she had to say. It's like you're in charge of making decisions and that's your thought process. It's time for you to go. It's time to get some more forward thinking people in there. And it's time to remove some of you all
yes,
because it's clear with all the
yes.
statistics and everything else that's going on that this shit is just getting out of hand completely, and then we're sitting here doing nothing about it. We're all like sitting there like, oh, well, okay, we're going to mention it and we're going to sweep it under the rug. It's like, that's not how this works, man.
I think, unless it's really affecting like you or your kid or your spouse, like I work in mental health and I'm very blunt about my mental health diagnosis. I told HR, I told my boss, I told my coworkers
Hmm.
because I need accommodations. Like I have to go sit in my car when I'm working a 14-hour shift and
Hmm.
process. That's just how my brain works. And
Yeah.
when I get anxious, my voice elevates. That's part of my anxiety. But like at work, I've not just at this job, but I feel like a lot of jobs, like when I was a teacher, if one minor thing happens and it could be related to my mental health, like, they forget that I can't help this shit. Like,
Hmm.
and it's not management. It's not the management, it's the coworkers who I'm pushed and pushed and pushed. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, she reacted, but let's not forget she told us she has this. And I'm not saying this happened at the job I'm at now, but I'm saying it's happened at other jobs where let's just put so much on her. And when she reaches her breaking point and has an episode, oh my gosh, well, I don't know if you can work here. Like, or they treat me different, or they try to get me in trouble. I can't control when I have an anxiety attack. I
Yeah.
try to regulate as much as I possibly can, but when you're gonna trigger the living fuck out of me, then I'm gonna have a reaction sometimes. And to be penalized at a job, a past job for something I cannot control, like, it's because people aren't affected by it. They don't understand what it's like
Oh,
to
yeah.
live with
One
something like
hundred
this.
percent agree. The job I got fired from, thank God I got fired from. I was on the verge of a fucking mental breakdown. Me and Cindy were talking about this, and Cindy's like, "Holy shit, did you hear this guy go? You need to quit this job, dude. You are literally about to lose your shit." I'm like, "Oh, I'm on the fucking I'm on the edge, so close, you don't even fucking know, dude." Like the minute they told me I was fired, I wasn't even mad. I wasn't sad. I was just like, okay, deuces. Like I had nothing else to say, dude. I was too tired to even care because it was
When
just
I was
that.
a
It was a
teacher
constant test.
when I was a teacher, I was so sick with my schizoaffective. I was suicidal. I was having these
Hmm.
major symptoms and I was just being beat down and beat down by the system. And when I quit my job, I felt relief at first. I was like, this elephant is gone. But I was so young at the time and didn't have any coping skills. I woke up the next morning sobbing in my sleep. And I thought, "What the fuck have I done?" Like, everything I worked for, my only coping skill is gone. And I actually woke up and went in the living room and wrote a suicide note. And I made a suicide plan, and I was going to kill myself over quitting this job because of the amount of stress I had been under in the mental state I was in. And that's the pressure that our society puts on people about having a job, about having a certain kind of career, about having purpose. I had been pushed and pushed and pushed in this job, and I suffered so much. Yet when I didn't have it, I was so hopeless. I was also sick. That's not the only reason. I was also sick, but I was ready to end my life over my career ending, partially because of my schizoaffective, but that's the pressure we put on people in these jobs.
Hmm. No, I agree. I agree. Mine was like that too. My boss is so ignorantly blind to it. She'll tell you she wasn't, but she was. Like we dealt with somebody who was she recently was diagnosed with it's the same thing, and you could tell she wasn't taking her medication because she was very unruly and things like that too. And I was telling my boss, I'm like, dude, she's something wrong. She goes telling me, yeah, I spent a couple weeks in a hospital. That's where I was, and I was just like, okay, cool, get that. But it was rough. The last week or two before I fucking got fired, I was just like, I was on the fucking verge of putting a gun in my mouth because it was literally stressful. Every day I'd come in, I'd have to fix the same fucking problems on top of everything else. And my boss knew it too. And she was gone for one of those weeks. And I said, dude, I was holding this store together. Like you come in the store, the shelves are completely empty because everything's in the back and nobody can go do anything. But it's like I have 2 people, you have 4, and you still can't get shit done. So it's not like I'm mad because they're just blatantly not doing shit. They're not getting shit done with 4 people. It's not like they're shorthanded, then it makes sense. I'm working with 2 people and I'm getting shit done. And then I walk in there, and, one day I came in there, like the whole stack of shit was all over the floor, and I was like, God damn it, here we go. Like it was rough, man. There's days I went home, I was just ready to fucking scream. And I was just like, this is fucking ridiculous. I literally came home and I was just like, I was exhausted. And it's funny because you see these emails. Oh, this is mental health awareness month. Y'all don't give a fuck about nobody's mental health awareness. Let's be honest, bro.
Yeah,
You try
yeah.
work us all to fucking death. You don't give us enough people. You leave us in charge of terrible management who doesn't fucking do anything. They just complain that they can't get anything done and they don't know what to do, and then they just give up, and then it's nothing gets done, and then they're threatening you every week. Oh, well, we're gonna fire you guys if something. We have so much say here, man. What the fuck do you mean? You're the one with all the power. We can't do nothing. We tell you these fucking people are no good and you keep them here. We had a guy where we're talking to, he was so severely traumatized that you couldn't say 2 words to him without him getting upset. Literally would just start breaking down. Just, hey, man, you didn't clean those drains. Oh my God. Oh, just start freaking out. And I'm like, dude, what is the deal? What are you so wound up about? Like, I went out and talked to him. I was like, listen, man, talk to me. What's wrong? And he was like telling me, and he's like, I'm just overwhelmed. I'm like, you're overwhelmed. You can't even do the job. I mean, we're not asking you too much. We're asking you to clean a drain, do this, that. There's a lot going on, yes. But at the same time, it was like this guy shouldn't be here working here because he just can't do it. And that's the thing. Like, I think too many people like with the way the fucking job market is, it's crazy. Here in Texas, dude, I could rarely get any calls back. I got called back from Bucky's after I decided I was leaving, and they're one of the biggest gas chains in the world. And I was like, well, fuck, had you guys called a week sooner, I probably would have stayed here. But it's like, fuck it, I'm leaving. I got like 5 or 6 interviews when I get to Illinois where I'm heading now. And it's weird because it's like I have the same resume I put out for everybody else, and these guys are like chomping at the bit. So I'm like, all right, cool, see you later, I'm out. And to me,
This is
it's just fucking
why
stupid.
this is why I wanna be my own boss.
Mhm.
J&E Support Group, for those who don't know, is my nonprofit I started in 2024.
Maddie's gonna
It's my
hire me to be the official
passion.
podcast soon, watch.
It's my passion, it's my love. It was born out of my own story. After my lithium toxicity, I didn't want anyone to ever feel. I never met anybody with schizoaffective until I was 35 years old, and that's a lonely fucking feeling.
Mhm,
And I never had equitable, accessible, and affordable care. There was points in my 20s where I was choosing, do I eat or do I go to the doctor? There was points where I couldn't find resources. There was points when I was driving an hour and a half to see a provider, and I was sick of that shit. So I started J&E Support Group. It's a registered advocacy agency for mental health, but it's also peer support. And for
mhm,
those who don't know, peer support are people with lived experience in either mental health or substance use who get a license. It's kind of like counseling and case management. It's just they don't pay peer support shit, which I'm going to change. But what I started with was I started a free peer support group. It's virtual. It's for anyone living with schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, or bipolar disorder, because we need our own community. There's not a lot of community out there for people like us, and it's a lonely feeling. And
mhm,
that bloomed into in-person groups for any mental health concern. And in my in-person groups, we go to the zoo, we go bowling. I'm trying to hook them up with a horse farm. We do art, we talk, we have coping skills, all these great activities to build community. And now I'm going into the unhoused shelters and providing hope for them as well. But that's not really the premise of JVNE support group. It's advocacy. So I'm planning advocacy events such as, so I'm giving a day in the life simulation for different mental health concerns. It's called a mental health simulation. You're going to come in, get a profile, name, age, diagnosis, insurance, income, family support. And there's tables set up around the room, and you have a card, and the tables are real life things like jobs, school, pharmacy, outpatient, hospital. And you have to navigate days in the lives. And at every table, you're going to be given a situation card with real situations people may go through, and you have to fucking learn how that feels to try to navigate that. And it's going to be impactful. And it was my idea, and it's going to be done across North Carolina. And I'm pretty fucking proud of it. And now I'm planning a suicide prevention summit. It's going to have lived experience speakers. It's going to have providers. It's going to have resources. And I pair all of my anti stigma, all my advocacy stuff with education. So I've hooked up with our our main Medicaid provider for the area and have 2 years worth of free suicide training, youth mental health training, and adult mental health training available to the community members who come to my events or somebody who just needs training. Because if you don't understand what you experience at these events, go learn something about it and learn a little bit so you can have a little bit better level of empathy for the people who have to go through this stuff because it's not a cakewalk. It's very difficult, you
Hmm.
know, and we just need to change people's mindsets a little bit. And eventually
Yeah.
I'll get into policy and things like that and advocating on a larger level when I graduate. But we need more voices of people who have walked the walk. I'm a big believer in lived experience. Like, yes, I can understand you can go to school for 100 years and become have all these letters behind your name and know all this stuff. But if you haven't lived it, there's a difference to me.
Hmm. No, I agree 100%. Think it's a great idea. We just, when you're coming to the city, so I know when we're branching out to where I'm at because I'm down. Maddie said she's gonna hire me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be her first employee. She can yell at me now. She's like, "Damn it, King! What didn't you do right this time? God damn it!" No, but I'm down,
I've
dude.
had
Like
a
I
lot of
said,
people asking that.
once they get there and establish and things like that, dude, we should definitely look at when you're ready to start moving and branching out to other cities. Yeah, we should definitely look at it for sure. I'd be down for that for sure. I think it's pretty cool. Honestly, I think it's a great idea. I
Thank
think,
you. It's my passion.
yeah, no, I agree. Listen, and Pete for Society could be the official podcast of Janie. You never know. Listen, this
Yeah,
we can
you
talk about that
never
in the future. You never
know.
know, guys.
You
Listen, I could
never
be working for Maddie one
know.
day. Maddie's gonna get
What
rich and
about
then
Voice of
hire
the
me.
Voiceless? Why can't I'm a big believer in lived experience. Voice of the Voiceless is all about lifting the voices of the unheard. Why can't Voice of the Voiceless be our official podcast?
As long as I'm getting paid, I don't care which one we make it. What we could do, both of them could be there. Shit, we're bringing both. Let's just bring both. Both of them. Why not? That'd be really interesting too. Do interviews at events with people and get their actual thoughts on things too.
Trying this, so I have 2 interns right now, and one of them just competed in Miss North Carolina. She's
Yeah, I know. We
fabulous. Her
talked about
platform
that.
is mental health. Yeah,
When's
and,
she coming to visit us? Have you figured that out? When she's
we
coming
need
to
to. I
visit?
haven't figured it out yet. She has a little portable mic, and I want her to
Mm-hmm.
she interviews people with it, and I wanna get some questions together. You can help me develop the questions, Pete,
Mm-hmm.
anti-stigma questions to kinda, like, put people in a pickle, like, "Okay, you've heard this. What's your gut reaction?" And she'll have the mic on the street, and then we can be like, "Oh, by the way, statistically or in my life or whatever," and kind of show how much stigma is really going on in our society.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great idea. I thought about doing something like that, like going around different college campuses and start asking people and things like that. Maybe in schools, if you can get into them, have her go in and start talking to some of these
That's
younger
difficult.
kids.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, those are tough though, that's what I'm saying though, but the colleges you may be able to get away with though, go on the campus and just ask questions like Charlie Kirk used to do, sit there and just talk to people, you know what I mean? Like that was the craziest thing about it. People didn't like him, but all he sat there and gave you a chance to say something. As much as you may not agreed with anything he said, you didn't have to. He listened to you though, that at the end of the day. That was the thing with Charlie that I respected was the fact that he literally sat there and listened to you. He gave you a chance to say something. If somebody tried to overtalk you, hey, yo, hold on, let him talk, let him talk. You know what I'm saying? He'd let you say what you're gonna say. There's another guy that does that too. That asked Sam something to come on the show, and he was like, "I can't do it right now," but he does the same thing. Goes around, talks to some of these schools and things like that too. But that would be kind of cool to do too. Eventually, is just do that stuff like that. Just go down there and just street interview people. Just start asking them questions and see what they say, or go to different events and just go and hang out and just see what people's thoughts are on things and see like where it is we're lacking in the knowledge that people need. You know what I mean? Like, some people are more knowledgeable than others, but we won't know until we start surveying them and figuring it all out. So, I mean, it's a pretty great idea, honestly, since that's what her platform
When
is, anyways.
when I was in college the first time, when I was like 18, I was a journalist for the school
Hmm.
newspaper. I was technically the sex columnist, but what I did was I would sit on campus and like yell at people and be like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And then I'd interview them and catch them on the spot. It was uncomfortable because it was about sex, but now I could take those skills and do it for mental health, I guess.
Set up a table and just sit there and say, hey, how's your mental health? And just leave it there and just ask people that. Like when they
Yeah.
ask you about it, they
How,
say
how,
something.
How about your next move is to North Carolina, Pete? I had a dream that you and Jimmy moved to North Carolina and we were
Well, maybe
podcasting.
after 4 years, we'll have to see. I'm going there because my daughters are there, so they've got 4 years left on the other
Oh.
two. So after they're done, and things like that, it's the sky's the limit. we'll see where I'm at
Yeah,
in 4 years from there.
it's
So,
humid as hell here, but we don't get a lot of cold weather.
well, I got a friend that lives there too. Him and his wife live there as well. Last time we were talking about her situation where she's like, she's in the same boat. She's like, well, I want to go, I need to work, but I need to go to the doctor and see what's wrong with me. But she's, she worries about everybody else but herself. And I'm like, dude, like,
Yeah,
you need to worry about yourself. She's like, what if I don't answer the phone? The thing they all like to say is if I don't answer
that
the
was
phone,
me.
it's like, yeah, but at the end of the day, what they choose to do is if they're choosing to do it, like you answering the phone regardless, they're still making that decision. They know what they're gonna do. When you get to that point, it's like, fuck it. You're gonna say fuck it. That's it. You're done. You don't care. Whatever you're saying to
Right?
them is invalid at that point. They don't give a shit.
I
And
heard
that's
this
what I was trying to explain to
analogy
her.
I heard this analogy one time. So, you know, when you have like a kettle you put on the stove, like say you're going to boil tea, you put water in it. What happens when you leave the kettle on the heat and don't refill the
Exactly.
water, Pete? It burns out. But what happens when
Exactly.
you leave the kettle on the stove with no water in it? It catches fire and burns your house down. You are the kettle. If you
Hmm.
don't constantly self care and putting into yourself is not a, well, I'm going to go get my nails done once a week. It's a constant thing all day long. What 5 minute thing can I do to pour a little bit of water into that kettle today? So by Friday, I'm not completely burnt out, completely washed out, and not able to do anything for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Well, let's go ahead and start wrapping this thing up, Maddie. You guys know where to find everybody. It was great having It
Yeah,
was great having conversations. Nice doing these. We should do these more often. We should invite Jimmy if we
we
like him. If I
should.
don't, that's your best
I
friend.
like Jimmy. Yeah, I like
I'm sure
Jimmy.
Jimmy will come running for you. I'm sure Uncle Jimmy will come running for you. What's that? Maddie wants me to come. Okay.
Okay.
Boy, be hitting full strides running over
We
his
do
way. But
need to have more
anyways,
little we should have guests and then we should just chit chat sometimes. I think we have a lot going on in our lives that's pretty
I
interesting
think
and
we should.
maybe you'll try floating and we can hear Pete's perspective.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, that's the first on my list of things to do is go floating. Yeah. No, but I'll definitely try it, like I said though. But anyways, guys, we're gonna wrap up this episode of Voice of the Voices. Guys, you know where to find us. We're on everything now. We're on Spotify all the way down to Pandora Radio. Can you believe it? We're everywhere you can find us. We'll even be heard on the Pep Radio Network once I can get us on there. Next time slot that opens, we're going in there, by the way.
Yes,
Guys,
yes.
check us out 9 a.m. every Saturday. Guys, it's Pete and Maddie. We're signing off. Maddie, say bye to the kids.
Bye guys, be good.
And everybody, be bold, be brave, be one of the voice of the voiceless.